Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to episode 16 of this Dyson Sphere Let's Play. This is our by-the-book Let's Play where we use blueprints to do stuff faster. Which in a game like this where you're building a lot of stuff is really handy. Last time we built this awesome looking mall and I have to say it is looking really sweet. We are producing everything we need over here. And we built a lot of other stuff actually. So we built pretty much all the tier 2, tier 3 buildings. Assemblers, fuel, let's not forget the fuel. We basically have infinite fuel on us. We can bring one more stack, let's do that. As you can see, we have now over 500 of this and I don't think we've actually used one full stack so far. So this is gonna last pretty much forever, but it's a good way to get rid of our excess hydrogen, get some deuterium going, etc. However, I do think we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem because we're not getting reinforced thrusters over here. And we are not getting that because all the way over here, let's fly there, zoom. We are not actually getting turbines and we're not getting any alloys. Well, the alloys is something we can easily fix on the other planet, at least that's what I'm hoping. And we've also built some nice little production facility over here where we are actually making turbines, or at least that was the idea. But we're feeding those into this thing which is producing our little magic sticks. So this is still buffering and basically making more of these. We can probably set this a little lower so that this will fill up sooner. And then we'll actually get surplus thrusters being produced here as well. But as you can see, this is kind of bottlenecked on engines, so this is something that happens very often in this stage of the game because you have so many products being demanded by different places of your production line. It is really easy to basically have something stack up while something else is not actually working. So what we need to do is kind of go back to our main planet, and this is the downside of having spread our production across 3 different planets, and see why we're not getting the turbines we need and why we are not getting the alloys that we need. And especially the alloys, I don't really have any idea why this is not working. So as you can see, we do have turbines coming in every now and then. That might have to do something with the fact that we set the vessels here lower. So once I set this to 20%, we suddenly have a stack of alloy coming in. Okay, well, let's just hop back to the other planet, check if everything is working like intended or if it's just the settings. And what we can actually do is we can set this a little higher as well, see if this works. Okay, so if we do this, we can actually see more turbines coming in, so that's good. But we still only have 1 stack of alloys coming in. So let's just hop to the other planet and see what's up with that. And I'll be right back. And we're back on the second planet, or maybe the first planet, depending on how you count. I checked the alloy and I found the problem. We were actually not requesting enough ground resources, so the way this was working, it was basically not being supplied fast enough by the other planet. We're getting the steel and the titanium from the outer planet of our system. I just set the boundaries a little higher now so that we have bunches of a few thousand coming in, and by doing so I think we should be pretty much good to go. We should have a more steady flow coming in. We don't need this to be like non-stop producing at this point in the game, but at least this will speed up the alloy production. This goes pretty fast anyway, so that should be fine, I think. The other problem was the turbines, and actually if we check the turbine production over here, it is actually obvious what the problem is in this case. Let me see, where is it? It's a little bit over here, I think. Look at our beautiful, beautiful setup. Okay, so we have the turbine production over here, which is feeding into this. The magnetic rings are actually capped, so as long as we're supplying this well enough, this should be overflowing and then thereby producing more turbines. The turbines themselves are actually being capped by the fact that we don't have enough engines, so they're quite hungry when it comes to the amount of engines being put into the system. But the engines actually have an interesting problem, and that is the ingots, the iron ingots. So by default, they were being supplied by our local little production facility, which is over here. It's all the way in the back. But the problem here is that we are slowly running out of iron on this planet. So we still have 750k, which is enough. But some of the miners, so let's take this one for example, as you can see, we're kind of running low. This one actually only has 2 veins left. This one only has 3. This one has only 2. In other words, yeah, this is rapidly running out. By itself, that's not necessarily a problem. But that does mean that we want to kind of set this to remote demand as well. So we're flying this in from another planet. And because we're flying it in from another planet, we probably want to set the supply a little higher. We can actually set this to local supply now, so that it's importing them but also exporting it to the other places in our base. And then we want to do the same thing over here. So let's just set this to, let's say, 3000 remote demand. And now we have 3000 being flown in, because we do have a lot of iron still in our system. So if we check that, look at all the spaceships flying around. So we have a reasonable amount of iron on our planet that we're building now, but we have over 4 million on this planet, and we did tap into most of that, so we should have a steady flow of iron coming in. Let me think, do we have any other places in our production line right now where we need this? What we could actually do is do the following. Let me check, where is the iron production over here? It's over there. Yeah, so I think this is still fine. Yeah, so this has a pretty decent amount of storage. We're not using that much of the other items, but this seems to be the main problem. So if we just set this maybe even higher to like 6000 and set it to local supply, it can share the wealth. This to 6000 as well. It is already set to local supply. As you can see, we have plenty of iron in our system. We don't have it on this planet right now. If we do it like this, the drones in these 2 facilities should spread it around a little bit as well, and thereby keep our production up and running. Okay, I think that should fix our main production issues. Let's fly back to our other planet. And here we are. We're back on our nice little light planet. I really like this planet. I mentioned that a few times, I think. As you can see, we are now getting rockets in here. They're actually straight up being used to produce the orbital platforms. Once these are done, this will take a while, we'll be stacking up the rockets. We're also getting the accumulators. This is not a fast process either, but then again, we only need so many orbital collectors. We might actually want to consider putting this to 0 at some point, because we only have at the moment 1 gas giant. I prefer just to keep it running. You need 40, so 40 orbital collectors for 1 gas giant. So we need about 11 more, and as you can see, we're almost there already. In order to fill our current gas giant, so if you just let it produce up to 100, you have enough to fill up 2 more after that. And once again, this will only get faster as we progress through the game and get more stuff and production going, but for now this should work. However, while we're waiting for that, there's a few more things we want to do. So first of all, I recommend building this little build. Well, it's not that little actually. Let's see if it will fit over here. There we go. And this will be producing particle colliders. Now, this is actually a really interesting recipe. Just let me show you. This needs 5 different inputs. Yes, 5 different inputs. That's quite a lot, obviously. And luckily, we're already making all of them, except for one, which is the frame material. Yeah, so that means we also need to start building frame material. Frame material is actually not that complicated. It needs the nanotubes. it needs alloys, again alloys, and it needs some silicon. So all of that is pretty straightforward to make. Let's put it in our little corner over here where we're making all our nice production. And of course we have a blueprint for that as well, which is this one. And I like flipping around the ILSs so you can kind of keep them close together. And if we do it like this, we should hopefully, let's check out, have everything what we need for this coming in straight away. Again, I have the blueprint set to build, still build with these level 1 assemblers, but if you want to upgrade them, it's as simple as doing this. I might have missed one at the end here, so let's check. Nope. There we go. So we should be making all of this, and let's make sure we actually power this thing, because otherwise it won't be building anything. Oh well, it will be building something. Once again, this one also needs alloy, and we are not currently getting in the nanotubes. And I actually don't remember, did we build nanotubes already? I'm not sure, but just in case, let's just build one more over here. We're going to need nanotubes for quite a few things, so we might as well need this. Oh, and this is actually interesting. So we ran out of the chemical stations, and because we have this little mall set up over here, you can just click, and I just need to check. And we don't currently actually have chemical plants yet, because it's still buffering and making stuff. Okay. Anyway, this will be completed in a second. And we're actually out of belts as well. Oh, really? We're running out of everything. This is not the best prepared episode, TDA. But luckily, we do actually have these belts. And as you can see, these are instantly filling up because we've been producing them since forever. Let's again make sure this is powered. Let's make sure we put in these and these. And even though we don't have a full set of chemical plants over here, we do have the basics. Now, I actually didn't preset these because depending on where you build them, you might want to request in more or less. As you saw, we are getting this from a different planet. So I recommend putting in the settings a little higher in this case. We are getting in the graphene, we are getting in the ingots, so that also means we will be getting in the nanotubes as soon as this all arrives. In order to speed that up, let's make sure it's supplied with vessels and drones. And you know me, I always say belt in the stuff if you can to save yourself some power. Now we are getting to the point of the game where power won't be an issue for much longer, but for now might as well be conservative. Everything else is already coming in, and once again let's put this a little higher just because we can. And let's see, we are then making nanotubes, so we should also get some frame material going. Now, this will actually help us get the particle colliders up and running. So that is a good thing. And I ran off a little early there, didn't I? Were you done yet? Were you done yet? Ah, they were. I have a few drones flying behind me. That is something to be careful with, though. If you fly off your planet, for example, where you don't have all your drones on you, they will chase you across the universe. And they are slow, so that will take forever for them to catch up to you. And it's, well, in this point of the game, your power isn't really an issue anymore because we have the fuel rods, but it can be a huge drain in your power. And also, just to finish up this, by the way, because there's 5 inputs, I'm requesting everything in one ILS, but then you actually don't have a place to fit in the second ILS, or you need a second ILS to actually export them. So anything we make at this point will be going in over here. I might as well upgrade them to speed this up. Okay, so what else? What else do we need? Right, sorry, I was distracted there for a moment. Let's see, we want to build science. And we want to build purple science. So in order to get purple science, let's check the material. We need processors. Well, we've been making those since forever, so that won't be a problem. But you also need these, and I call this broadband, but it's particle broadband, but broadband for short. And broadband is, again, very straightforward. You need some of the crystals, you need some plastic. Well, we have plenty of that on the other planets. The only problem, again, is the nanotubes. And, hey, didn't we just make a nanotube build? We did. So that means what we can actually do is fly all the way over here. And then do something like this. Linking. You could actually consider either making nanotubes and feeding it into this one, or what you could do, and that is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to make a second build with nanotubes. Where was it? In the other one, I think. Yep. There we go. And yes, I am going to fix the chemical plants in a moment. But before I do that, let's put down one more build, which is the broadband. Now, can we fit this in over here? No, of course not, because that would be too easy. So we'll just do it over here. And by doing this, what we can do is we have more nanotubes being made. And again, this is a pretty slow recipe from what I remember. Let me double check. Where's the recipe? Carbon nanotubes. So 4 seconds to make 2, so it's not the slowest in the world, but considering we're making it from chemical plants, there's a limited amount of that going around, especially if you don't actually have chemical plants, as we currently don't do, but that we will be able to fix in a second. Now, you can see there's actually nanotubes already going out, so that means we should have the first frame materials being produced. That is a fairly slow recipe, 6 seconds. But anyway, it doesn't need to be super fast as long as it is producing. You can see our drones flying off with that to our particle collider, so that's good. Now, all we need to do is actually make sure we do have some chemical plants. And once we do, we can start building our our broadband over here. Be right back while I get some of these chemical plants going. Alright, and there we are. And we are now producing nanotubes. I have everything coming in over here from the other planets. We are making it. It's being transported to over here. This is requesting quite a lot of other things. We might want to set these ratios a bit higher, considering it's coming from a different planet again. And as you can see, we have our first broadband being produced. Yeah, all working like intended. The problem, by the way, with the the chemical stations was that, and I'll show you for a moment, that over here in our little mall, everything was working like intended, but I forgot to do one thing, and that is set the steel to actually export on this belt. So none of this was actually getting steel, and considering all of those buildings need steel, yeah, not working. So again, make sure before you run away that you check if everything is actually not just incoming but also being put on belts. Now then, last but not least, what we want to do, we have the broadband coming in, so we have all the requisites for the purple signs. I have a nice little build of purple signs over here. Where are we going to put that? Probably not too far away from our little hub over there. What's a pretty place to put it? Let's not overthink this and just put it over here. Nice and close to our other builds. And I'm not going to be able to build it from over here, so let's fly there and make sure everything is working like it should. Now notice, by the way, that thanks to the fuel rods you can barely even see our power moving while we're building stuff. It's actually charging while we're moving, and that's the power literally of having the fuel rods, because they have the 300% fuel chamber generation. That means that we're actually making a lot of that. Now, here we go. As you can see, we'll have our particle broadband coming in. We'll have a lot of this coming in. We might want to up this a little bit. And we might as well up this as well while we're at it. This is coming from this planet, so that should be fine. I'm breaking my own rule here. I am actually transporting this by drone, but I just like the position where this is. And this keeps it a little bit closer to the place where we're actually producing or using the science, I should say. And that's over here. We're not currently charging this at all, but we can change that with just one additional pylon. There we go. And we can put in some drones over here to fix that problem, maybe even some vessels, why not? And of course we do actually need to put in information matrices over here. We want to local demand this as well as remote demand this, we might as well. And then which belt are we going to put it on? Probably this one. Now let's see, do we have anything incoming yet? Not yet. A little bit too enthusiastic from my side probably, because you can see we actually do have the broadband coming in. I think those are the drones transporting that. Let's see if that's actually working. No, it's not, because once again I forgot the belts. There we go. So this one as well as that one. There we go. And it's really up to preference, by the way, with these blueprints. If you want to automatically have them export on the belts, that's what I usually do. I don't always do it. I kind of forget sometimes. Nice. But if you do, everything starts working instantly, and you might not be prepared for that. You might want to replace some stuff. You might want to move it, etc., etc. So it's a little bit of personal preference whether or not you do it like that or not. We have our first purple signs incoming. It's being transported over to our little base over here. Let's see, let's see. Look, there it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And so we have another color added to it. Not that exciting just yet, of course, because it's automatically getting into the science centers, but as you can see, our science is moving now. It's actually going fairly slow because of the amount of information it needs to process these, but as more will be coming in, it will spread across the circle. As you can see, it's already going to the third one now, and this speed will slowly pick up as we are making more. Well, while we're doing that, we have one more thing to do in this episode, and that is actually building our orbital platforms. Now, we should probably have 40. Oh, we actually have exactly 40, so that's nice. Let's pick those up and let's fly off to our gas giant. And here we are in our little blue ball of gas. The orbital collectors are a little bit strange compared to other buildings, because as you can see, the game is telling me you can only build them at the equator. There's a good reason for that, because you can only build a maximum of 40 on a gas giant, and that only works if you space them apart exactly in the right way. And that means if you put down one, you really want to kind of measure out how far away you're going to put the other one. And as you can see, it's if you put one of them on a line, and north to south line, you can actually put the other one on the next line, and then one over that on the next line over once again, etc. By doing so, you're going to be placing 40 of these, and they will be producing infinite amounts of whatever you have in this gas giant. In our case, that's hydrogen. Yay! As well as fire ice. And fire ice is a rare recipe. As you can see, it says between brackets that it's rare, and this will allow us to basically have a shortcut towards making graphene. You can make graphene from graphite and acid, which is a little bit annoying to do, but you can also just make it straight up from fire ice without anything else being needed, just fire ice, and we now have an infinite amount of that. So basically, however much graphene we want, that's what we get, and we get some bonus hydrogen along with it. Along with the hydrogen we're actually getting from this already. Now, one orbital collector by itself isn't really producing that fast, but even though it has a reasonable speed, but multiply this by 40 and you can imagine this is going to go very quick. And this is actually affected by research as well. So if you have the vein research where you get more production from your veins on your planets, it actually also affects the orbital collector. So this is going faster and faster. Speaking of fast, you can see we've already completed one research. This one is almost already done as well. We are going to need to stack up a few more. This is going all according to plan. I'm going to finish building these orbital collectors and then we'll wrap up back on our home planet. And once again, we are back on our little production planet. And what I've done is actually made use out of the fire ice recipe over here. So I put in one more little build that is now actually producing fire ice. Of course, there's a blueprint for you as well. And this fire ice is being transported from our orbital collectors, and as you can see, because they're producing so much, we're already fully stacked up. It took a while to place them all, so while I was building them, they were heavily producing. So we have a massive amount incoming here. We're actually transporting all of the graphene. At the moment, we are transporting that straight into our production centers of carbon. So this is now getting a steady supply of all the materials it needs to produce. Of course, titanium not being the most exciting recipe, so as you can see, these are all working full time. It's not the fastest recipe, but this is giving us a steady production. And of course, that is then being fed into the other things that we are producing. So the frames over here, as you can see, we have a nice little stockpile of those building up over here. We can probably set this to like 4,000 or something. And last but not least, we are producing our broadband over here. And this is of course very important for our research purposes. But as you can see, this should now be working pretty much at optimal speed. It's still getting used to the fact that it's now getting a steady supply. But as you can see, most of this facility is already working. That also means that we're kind of going through our research pretty fast at the moment as well. We've already researched all the recipes in the technology tree that need purple recipes, and by that I mean this technology tree. So we have the buildings over here. We actually unlocked the quantum ships. We unlocked the gravity matrix, which is our next science target. And then last but not least, we are now about to discover vertical launching silos, which means we can start building our Dyson Sphere. But enough for this episode. It's already pretty long. Apologies for that, but I think this were a few nice builds. And I will see you in the next one, where we are going to focus on our next few steps. And I haven't decided yet whether or not that's going to be Warpers or the Dyson Sphere or both. Let's find out, and I will catch you in the next one.